touch upon these 4 types that our research has found in the last year that we've been focusing on this project. And there will be early attempts, mostly student organizations, the Pragmatic Mainstream. Those would be the organizations that are trying to represent the majority of the Muslims in those countries. Small pockets of individuals, mostly political activists, and astute actors are the last group. So let me just dive into it because I know the time is short. So the early attempts are mostly student organizations that here we need to be careful about the context, because just like Andrea has mentioned before, the Bosnian context was a bit different when the group of Bosnian Muslims have been exchange students back in Cairo in 1930s, observing the Muslim Brotherhood movement, and also they were in the pursuit of finding their own Muslim identity at the time, and coming back to Bosnia, or back then it was Yugoslavia, which was a secular republic. They tried to mirror the attempts or efforts of the Muslim Brotherhood there, and also create a sort of opposition to the government there at the time. So this has to be viewed in that context. In the context of Czech Republic and Poland, we've seen the student organizations have been founded in the 1990s, so right after the collapse of the Soviet Union. But the difference being here, the students that founded that were mostly foreign students from Muslim countries. So that's a bit of a difference here. And then we have a latecomer in North Macedonia, an organization that has been founded in the year 2000. And just like the others that I mentioned, also an active member in the FEMISO organization in the Western, known mostly in the Western Europe. But it has been detaching from the Islamist scene later on in the recent years. And here we get to the different fates these organizations have had. So as North Macedonian one has been trying to detach itself from Islamist movements, the ones in Czech Republic and Poland have been either absorbed into mainstream Islamic communities or organizations, or have been sort of overpowered by those and sort of, so to say, muted, as we actually quoted, or as we already said in our second report. And the Bosnian one has actually turned into a political party, but like I said, the context has to be very, we have to be very mindful of the context there. So the Pragmatic Mainstream organizations are, as I said, it's the mainstream organizations because they're trying to represent most of the Muslims in the selected countries. We've found these, and the reason why I put the word pragmatic there and with a question mark is because on the one hand, we've seen them dabbling in the Islamist waters. They have been reaching out to sort of representatives or ideologues of the Muslim Brotherhood, like Yusuf al-Qaradawi, or we've seen them also invited Ahmed al-Rawi from Eurotrust, the UK charity that was set up by the FIOE body, and they've been inviting them to their organizations. But on the other hand, they've also been contacting the opposition to the Muslim Brotherhood. And now I'm talking about mostly looking for funding, looking for donors in the MENA region, in countries that have been in the last decade in opposition, strong opposition to the Muslim Brotherhood movement. And this has not been the case, I want to stipulate this, for all countries that we have studied. The mainstream, when I'm talking about the Pragmatic Mainstream, this is mostly the case for Poland, Czech Republic, and Bosnia and Herzegovina, because we haven't found anything like that in North Macedonia or in Serbia. There we go. The third group are small pockets of mostly individuals. These were political activists, very vocal during the Arab Spring. We've seen them, for instance, in the Czech Republic, we've seen a small group of individuals that have been not affiliated to any groups, not even the mainstream ones, none. Essentially, they were sort of an informal group of Muslim Brotherhood members that have gone to Egypt in 2011, joined the Muslim Brotherhood there in the protests in the Egyptian revolution, and been really active in the country. And later on, actually, they have had a split, according to one interview that we have, according to one expert that we have interviewed. And the split was even on the lines of who to support next after the coup d'etat that happened 2 years later. Some were actually supporting the government of LCC. In Poland, we have seen these political activists being especially vocal during, after the coup d'etat, so in 2013, protesting in front of the Egyptian embassy. Again, it was a group of, an informal group of individuals who did not belong to any group after that. And as Andrea, my colleague, has mentioned already, the case of AKOS in Bosnia and Herzegovina, here we see an active membership in the FEMISO and FIOE organizations, active distribution of publications written on the topic of Muslim Brotherhood, but written also by Hassan al-Banna or Yusuf Qaradawi or others. And we see active distribution and active membership in these organizations, which is a difference from the other ones that I have mentioned, because those things are usually in the past and the connections have been, so to say, cut or severed or sort of ended in some way, while in ACOS we see a sort of an active interaction still. But I don't want to talk about the organization as a whole. Rather, it's possible that there are certain members that see this activity as very important, while others do not. So there's always a caveat to that as well. The last group are the astute actors, where we see a loose connection to the idea of radical political Islam. Here we mostly see ties to actors who support the Muslim Brotherhood but do not adopt the Muslim Brotherhood ideology. So here, the best example would be the BESA party in North Macedonia, which has been sort of quoted as having connections to the Logos A publication house, which again has been active in distribution and publication and even translation of some of these books by Muslim Brotherhood ideologues into Albanian and North Macedonian. And so that sort of connection made us thought like this is a different kind of connection here that we need to be aware of, and it's a more of a loose connection, and there's other actors in the play. So that's pretty